Dan and Heather, welcome back to the Diesel Podcast. How you guys been this summer?
Oh, pretty good. Definitely busy.
Yeah, it seems I've been seeing a ton of posts from you guys with some sled pulling, new product releases. So I thought it'd be cool to catch up as we, gosh, I can't believe we're wrapping up summer and kind of head into the fall. So looking forward to our chat today.
Likewise.
Yes.
Let's start with the sled pulling. Like I know before, like I think it was maybe late spring, we talked about Heather's LLY and some other projects and things you guys were working on. As far as racing, getting it all dialed in and put together. How's that been?
It's been a good season so far. We did some changes to the trucks over the winter, or at least in the month of May, before our season started, and it was off to a little bit of a rough start with some driveline issues on her truck, and just dialing things in. So, but after we got those issues ironed out, they've been pretty consistent. Usually 1 and 2 at every truck pull we go to.
I will say that early on when I was pulling, I kept kind of complaining to him, like, it doesn't feel like it's got the power it did last year. And, he's kind of brushing it off. And finally, end of July, got it on the dyno and found out, it was actually making less horsepower than the previous year. So got it on there. He did a little bit more refining with it. And
it wasn't much lower. It was like 30 horse. So.
It was 50 horse.
50 horse.
Which was still significant because I could just feel it. Like, it just didn't feel like it was planting the power like it normally would. And once we got it dialed in, then it started running much, much better.
Yeah. Yeah, new motor, bigger fuel, same turbo. So just had to get it on the dyno and fine tune it.
Pretty impressive, I think, to be able to sense a 30 to 50 horsepower difference on a truck at that power level. Like, be really dialed into like that setup and the experience and like how it plants and goes and everything else. So I don't think I could feel 30 or 50 horsepower difference on something. So that's knowing your truck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we made quite a few, well, not quite a few, but we made some changes over the winter. With new motor, we went from 300% over injectors to 400% overs. Those are big 400s. We went to one of our 14 mil CP3 pumps in the valley, and we put one of our sportsmans on the belt. Bigger flowing cylinder heads from Wagler. We also got rid of the 01 to 10 rear axle, and we put a 2018 axle in there out of an L5P. So get the beefier center carrier housing and 4-inch axle tubes, bigger spindles. We did some boxing of the frame, rear of the axle, new hitch, 4-link suspension, or 4-link for stability and rigidity. And it runs really good this year.
I think he was nervous that I was going to break some more stuff, so he probably thought we needed to beef it up a little bit more.
What's the like with sled pulling and with that power and how it's being like the type of racing or competition that it is? What kind of lifespan do you expect, or what's considered reliable at that kind of power level with that use? Because I'm really curious about, a lot of times on the podcast we talk about what's your daily driver, your tow truck, what to expect for reliability. But on the performance side, I'm curious, what's a good setup? Is it maybe in the winter you take a look at it, maybe see how things are going, or is it maybe more frequent, less frequent? What do you look for from a reliable sled pulling setup?
So both of our trucks are making right around 1,000 horsepower, and we pull in the work stock diesel classes in Wisconsin. Our rules allow any size drop-in turbocharger or 369 or a 2.5 S400 style charger. At that power level, We like to see, you usually get about 3 seasons out of a motor before we have to go in and just refresh it, new rings and bearings. But motor-wise, they're built to handle quite a bit more power than that. So generally we don't have to do any major repairs. With her truck, it usually gets 1 clutch a year. So at the end of the season, we'll pull it out and send it off to Valera and have them freshen it up. We typically do have a spare just in case we have an issue mid-season. But my truck's got an automatic, so there's not really a whole lot to do there. It's just start off in 4th gear and lock the converter. So I think that transmission's on its 4th season now. We haven't even touched it since we built it. So ring and pinions, we do a couple sets a year usually. Just you get on some rough tracks and you can break teeth off, or they just wear out from the torque they're making. We're both in that 1,600 foot-pound range of torque, so on 35s, 456s. So.
And I'd say like turbocharger and stuff, we kind of inspect them throughout the season, just checking bearings, clearances, and stuff like that. And as long as everything's still running good, just keep running it. And if at any point you think something needs to be changed, maybe slap new bearings in it and just keep the turbo fresh and, hopefully not grenade it on the track like this one did.
The 72 drop-in that's in her LB7, that one's got almost 2 full seasons on it now. Haven't had to touch the bearings or change anything with that. The VGTs, we've been doing some product development on that. We've talked in previous podcasts about the 72, and really happy with what we've accomplished over the last couple of years. And it's been very reliable and making a lot of horsepower. So we're getting ready to release that to the market here soon, along with the 72 for the LB7. We've built a few for customers that call and request, but I'm actually getting them on the website and selling them. But they've been doing pretty good.
That's really impressive to think of 1,000 horsepower and competing with it, and about every 3 years having to do just some small things on the engine, or even a clutch like once a season. Maybe having a spare or an automatic, and really not having to do much at all. It's impressive to think of that power level, and then the kind of abuse that the truck's subjected to while it's going. It's so much more power than what a typical truck or a daily driven truck would have. I thought it would be quicker or more frequent, I guess is the right word, of things that would have to be done. So that's impressive.
Yeah, if you're at a higher power level, you're probably going to be going through that motor in the off season. But yeah, at our power level, we can usually get 2 to 3 seasons out of a motor before we got to refresh it.
Well, I'd also say, like, with the advancements in technology, over the last decade or two, we're getting more longevity even on these higher horsepower trucks than we would have even 5-10 years ago.
On the technology side, does it also work hand in hand with the electronics and like the tuning side of like these sled pulling applications, where it's maybe a little bit of both? Like the materials have gotten better, or advancements in different things you can choose, whether it's with the engine or transmission or turbos, things like that. But then also the tuning side and how you can extend maybe the service intervals.
Well, good tuning goes a long way. The LB7 and the LOI, they're probably the easiest platform to tune. The Delphi controllers just listen to command and do exactly what you ask them to do. Some of the newer Bosch controllers are more finicky, and there's more stuff going on in the background that may not be mapped into the software. Some guys will, if it's a full competition vehicle, will make that switch to like a Bosch standalone or a Motec standalone system, and there is opportunity there for possibly some more horsepower, but I think the trucks run really good with the factory electronics. Turbocharger design what we've done with the turbines and the compressor wheels and castings and whatnot. That's definitely helped longevity and reliability at those higher horsepower levels. Yeah.
Hey, Diesel fans, we wanted to let you know that our friends over at Kershaw Knives have a 20% off your entire cart discount code for you. If you go to kershaw.kaiusa.com, use code TDP2520, get you 20% off your entire order. They got a bunch of different choices for blade steel, blade shape, different handle designs, different opening mechanisms. So if you're in the market for a new knife for EDC or hunting, fishing, around the job site, around the house, they've got you covered with a bunch of different choices designed to meet any budget. We really appreciate them offering that discount code just for you guys. So if you're in the market, head on over to kershaw.kaiusa.com and use code TDP2520 and get 20% off your entire cart. Would you say for a Duramax, if you wanted to be able to sled pull, and you don't want to go to a higher power level or get more involved with costs and overhead of supporting this race vehicle, like, all the time or more consistently, would you look at an LB7 or LLY from your perspective at Dan's Diesel Performance and what you can do in a number of different ways to have like a fun, competitive sled pulling truck that you don't necessarily have to, you kind of limit the expense of what your maintenance is going to be on it? Would you look at one of those two Duramaxes?
I would probably start with an LML. A little bit beefier bottom end without having to build a motor like from the get-go. Maybe.
I don't know. I do think the 01 to 5 platform is very affordable to get into. They are getting pretty old at this point. But yeah, the LMLs are at the age where they're affordable, but the engine itself does have a few issues, like with cracking pistons or breaking crankshafts. But if you built the motor, it's a good platform. We've been able to do some pretty cool stuff in the ECM on those. The injection system, piezo injectors, they're pretty solid. But even the 17 to 19 L5Ps, guys are starting to have some fun with those. So it really just depends on, what your style is and, what your budget is and what horsepower and class you want to be competitive in.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I've been hearing a lot more requests for L5P stuff. Mm-hmm. That truck's always had me excited. And, just even recently, maybe within the last week or two, somebody found like an old episode and they're like, talk more about L5Ps. Well, it was like from 3 or 4 years ago when there really wasn't a ton that was out there. Mm-hmm. And you guys are at the leading edge of what's being done on a 1 to 24, 25 Duramax trucks. With the L5P, I saw recently that you guys have a CP3 conversion for them. Mm-hmm. I wanted to talk with you about that. Can you walk me through what issues somebody might run into with the factory injection pump, and then the product or the idea to be able to put what's considered a very, very reliable injection pump, being the CP3, onto those trucks?
So the stock pump that's in the L5P is a HP4 from Denso, and it's been a pretty reliable pump. And the output is very similar to a stock LBZ CP3 pump. So guys are getting 700 horsepower or so out of that stock pump. They flatline as far as output goes around 3,200 RPM. So as RPM increases, the output doesn't increase with RPM above that. But they've been pretty reliable. We've only seen a few failures, which you see that in CP3s also, but nowhere near the issues that the CP4s had in the LMLs. But we wanted to come out with a CP3 conversion kit for the guys that were wanting to achieve more horsepower or be able to run higher RPM reliably. So we offer a complete kit that is really awesome. It has both high pressure fuel lines, so we get rid of that line in the valley that joins the two rails. You get an individual line going from the pump to each rail. A billet feed fitting, so it's a quick connect right to your factory supply line, and it's got a nice return line that hooks right up to your factory return. Billet mounting flange, gear, all that's installed, and we offer it with a 10 mil, 12 mil, and 14 mil pump, and those are all built here in house.
So that's really going to open the performance window or potential that you could make because of the established R&D and the how proven the CP3 is in those different sizes for reaching different power levels. It just opens it up, and it sounds like it's really streamlined as far as the install to be able to put it on there.
Yeah, it's a
With
very easy to install kit.
would it be something? Well, we have a listener, and I think he's a member on our Discord and our Patreon and everything. He's a great guy. I know he tunes into all the episodes, and he had said to me recently that listening to the podcast, he made the decision to buy an L5P. So he's probably heard some of the other podcasts that we've done, and I know his focus is really on making the truck last as long as possible. And so I imagine one of the things that he would want me to ask you is, is that stock pump, is it kind of like, I know you mentioned the CP3, they can have failures every now and then, but it's probably not something that he would run into with an issue, on a tuned, daily driver. It's really something like this geared up towards, you want more than 700 horsepower, you want to be able to have that tuning potential increased.
Yeah, if you put bigger injectors in your truck and you're wanting to make more than 700 horsepower reliably, then that's when a CP3 conversion is going to benefit you. I'd say below that 700, 750 range, you're probably not going to need it, especially from a reliability standpoint. The stock HP4 has been proven to be pretty good. So the CP3 conversion is more for performance or higher RPM reliability.
Does it cover like from 2017 up to a certain year range, or what years does it support currently?
The kit covers 17 through 23 right now. The 24 and up trucks just got tuning a couple weeks ago, so we haven't had an opportunity to get a truck in the shop to put one on and see if there is any changes we need to make to that yet, but that will happen here probably somewhat soon. And I imagine that there won't be too much differences, if any. The turbocharger side, that's a little bit a different story.
You'd mentioned the 72s, and those being ready to go live or go live soon. On the turbo side, what sort of developments or new options do you guys have available? It can be specific to the L5P, or it could be, the other Duramax engines that are out there. But what's new coming up on that side?
So on the 2001 to 2016 trucks, we are going to be re-releasing the 68 and the 72 in the new and improved version very soon. Well, 72 is probably a little bit later this year, but the 68 should be coming out here in the next couple weeks. We got some new stuff coming for the 64s and 66s as well, so people can be on the lookout for that. On the L5P platform, we have our 64 and 66. We do have plans to go larger, but it's going to require some changes made to the vane package and possibly the exhaust housing. So we got some more development to do there. The 24 and up L5P turbos are in development, so we're hoping to be able to support that platform later this year.
What would you, if I came to you and I said, hey, I've got an L5P and I want it to go past 700. So say I'm thinking like 800, 850. Let's just say 8 to 900, give or take a little bit. What would you suggest to me for upgrades with everything, like as far as transmission, suspension, turbo, injection pump? How would you set me up with a good, solid, reliable, consistent performer in that kind of power range?
So like an 800 horse recipe, we would do one of our Dominator Comp 1 transmissions. So it's our street trans, but it's got billet input and output shafts, sleeve C2 hub. Also do a Fass or Air Dog fuel system on it, so you can feed the CP3 pump. Probably do either a 10 mil or a 12 mil. There's not much of a price difference between the two, so most just opt for the 12. 100% over injectors, so we can get that pulse width down. The guys that are making 700 horse on stock injectors, they're just pushing a very wide pulse width to do that. Turbocharger wise, probably do our 66, and we offer that in both 10 blade and 9 blade. The 9 blade is a little bit larger of a turbine, so it's going to lower drive pressure and support a little bit more horsepower. We did dyno the 66 10 blade with 100 overs and a 12 mil, and that did about 830 horsepower. So it's a very streetable setup, runs clean. The guy's truck that we dynoed, actually, he sled pulls in the work stock class with us, and does pretty well. And of course, all the intake and piping and all that stuff that needs to be done to help that motor breathe.
Are we getting much into the engine itself, or is it pretty solid at that kind of power level?
They're pretty solid. I mean, we've got guys that are pushing 1,000+ horsepower on stock head bolts. So we really don't need to tear into the engine until there's a reason to tear into it. So if you start making pressure in the cooling system, well, then your head gasket's starting to leak. So that's when we would pop the heads off and put new gaskets in, head studs. On the L5P, that would be a good opportunity to put a better camshaft in there, because their cam does favor emission standards a little bit more than the earlier camshafts. So if you upgrade the cam, it's a pretty big deal on those. So
when it comes to the transmission side, would that be also, say, a factor of what year range, say L5P, you would do this with, like, the early 6-speed versus the 10-speed? Would that be something you would look at if you were going to take one of these to that kind of power level?
Yeah, right now we work on the 6 speeds, and we've got a really good program for those. The 10 speeds is still something that we're working on getting into once we get caught up with all the 6-speed stuff that keeps us busy. So
people always have tons of questions about the 10 speeds. Really, I think more so in that increased power level, street truck kind of range. Will it hold? What's going to be developed? And I know it's tough to be able to. There's so much that goes into it. I'm sure electronically. I'm sure with hard parts, architecture of it, and good things take time. And there's testing and things that you guys need to do. But I know that's a huge kind of question that people have had for a long time: is will my 10-speed hold up to that? And I think with the aftermarket and the advancements, in time it will. But it does take some time to kind of go through that and develop it. So I know in the future that might be there. I think these L5Ps are really they're so exciting from a number of different ways, especially at the power levels like we were just going through. Is I don't have to build the engine, which is a huge thing. For me, is I don't know if I necessarily want that expense as soon as you'd have to do it on an LB7 or an LBZ or something like that at 800, 900 horsepower. So
yeah,
I think that's a huge advantage.
When you get into like sled pulling and like the work stock class, you really don't have to worry about the transmission too much. If you get some transmission tuning or just put an EPC fooler in there, you can run max line pressure. The stock transmission will handle quite a bit on dirt. Might just upgrade the torque converter to change your stall speed and get more clutches for lockup. But the transmissions typically hold up pretty well because there's not a whole lot going on. You can do a 3rd or a 4th gear start, and depending on how your gearing is, and it's just locking the converter after that. So there's not a whole lot of wear and tear on the transmission.
Would you say that the L5P would be one of the best Duramax trucks to kind of have that hot street truck kind of set up on compared to older ones. I'm thinking of it from the perspective of there's so many times somebody will reach out to us and they'll say, hey, I just want a fun truck. And they'll give me like 2 or 3 or 4 different ones that they're looking at, but they're asking from the aftermarket perspective. So in that kind of 800 horsepower range, do you think the L5P would be the best or one of the best options from the perspective of making that power and doing it without the most expense?
I would say so. I mean, they have a little bit more reliability than previous platforms, so you could throw some parts at it, and have some fun with it and still have a nice, driving truck too at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, the L5P already starts out in the 400 horse range from factory, so it's already a pretty good platform to start off with.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where my mind is going with it as well. Like I love the older, I love LBZs. I always have. Part of me really loves the LB7s too, especially like the the 01, the body style of some of those early generation trucks. But then I think, well, I'm going to have to do injectors. I'm going to have to do transmission. Probably going to have to do some engine upgrades. And then I'm also getting a truck that's 24 years old potentially, or 18, 19 years old versus anything from 2017 on is really nice, and especially from 2020 on is really nice. Mm-hmm. You gotta have the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I mean, we pull an 02 and an 05, and the bodies on them are pretty good, which that can be hard to find these days. Is one that's not rotted out, but we pull them to the polls with a 2023 L5P, and it's a dually. I love that truck for towing. It's just the 10-speed keeps the engine in the right RPM range. It just pulls that weight, no problem, both on the 40-foot trailer. So we're grossing about 37,000 pounds.
Yeah, and I daily drive a 25 L5P, and that has been my favorite vehicle I think I've ever owned. Like, it's a 1-ton, short bed truck, but it rides like a dream. It tows like a dream, and like I literally have no complaints about that truck. Like that 10-speed performs great, and it is bone stock. Like that's my grandma truck now.
Yeah, I think the comfort and the refinement of them is it's so cool. And then to hear like from the aftermarket side of what you guys are doing, how you have the turbocharger development, you have the injection pump development, injectors, all these other components where for people who do want that performance side, that's starting to really grow and take off as well. So you can have both. You can have that bone stock, awesome truck that tows amazing and is comfortable, and you can also have the performance side if that's the direction that you want to go with it. Mm-hmm. I thought of another question to ask you guys. I thought that would be kind of fun. Is you guys have been in the diesel industry for a very long time, have a really successful company, have a lot of followers on social media, do some really cool things with development, hard parts, and you guys are very well known for what you do. But when you look at the industry and you look out towards the future, what are some things that get you guys really excited? Is it new models of trucks, new technology the OEMs are putting into it? Is it the aftermarket? Is it manufacturing and what you guys are able to do, like to take ideas and get them maybe quicker to market because of machinery or computers or AI or different things? What has you guys really excited about the future of diesel in the in the focus you guys have at Dan's Diesel Performance?
Well, what makes me excited is the new tuning support. Like the L5P, the E42 ECM just got supported. So now we have a whole new generation of trucks that we're going to be able to provide performance parts for. The new Power Strokes are supported now as well. So that's another area where we're going to start making some products for. So just the fact that tuning is still becoming available, it's still being developed, so we can take these newer trucks and support them. There's no end of the road at this point in time. That's one of the things you kind of scares you a little bit. If a new model comes out and it's like, oh, this truck's not tunable, well, then there's not really a whole lot you can do as far as performance parts other than just a plug-in module or something, maybe an air intake. But it's nice to see that tuning support is available for that. And I'd say being able to work with people who are smarter than I am as far as being able to design parts and address problems. Like if we're having a part that's failing, figure out, what's the cause or how can we make this better? Things like that. That's been really exciting.
Well, you like taking, anything that's problematic and improving it. So like when you have something to focus on, and then taking it, making it better, like that's what makes you happy. So now you have like another new platform to work with. It's like, okay, we'll find what's not right with these. Let's make this better. So always having like something new to be able to develop, I think is probably what's most exciting to me too. It's not like you're always going to be doing the exact same thing. It's like now we got something new to play with. Like we get to have fun again. You don't go stagnant, to put it mildly.
Hey, diesel fans, I wanted to chat with you about diesel fuel. It's something we've talked about a lot on the podcast, and specifically ways that it can lead to a lot of costly repairs. And the main reason that we have these issues is a lack of lubricity. Our friends over at Hot Shot Secrets have developed a formula that boosts performance and then addresses this issue. So whether you have an old truck, new one, something anywhere in between, we all face this issue. Hot Shots EDT is a 6-in-1 formula. It cleans injectors, boosts cetane, and it has 4 times the lubricity as their leading competitor. So it's a great way to be able to stay ahead of the maintenance curve, avoid those costly repairs, and the best part is it does the work for you. So all you do is add it to your regular fuel up schedule, and it's doing all the heavy lifting. So you don't have to worry about some of those issues that just come with diesel fuel anytime we buy it from the pump. If you go to hotshotsecret.com, use code DIESELPOD20. It'll get you 20% off your order. We really appreciate the team and our friends over at Hot Shot Secret offering this discount code just for you guys. So if you're in the market, head on over to their website, use code DIESELPOD20 and get 20% off your order. Yeah, I think that's a really key part, because it's a driving force for you guys to want to fix it. I think it's also a driving force for owners and people that have the trucks. They want a solution for it, so they converge together into this point where that's kind of where the magic happens. Do you think, like, has the technology to manufacture products, is that also making that easier to be able to design products or take an idea and get it to market quicker or do testing on it in different ways? Like, has that sped up over the years from when you started until now to take something from an idea to a prototype to through testing to now it's on the website and people can buy it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Tooling has gotten better. CAD/CAM programs have gotten better. So yeah, we can take a component, improve upon it, and get parts made a lot quicker these days than we used to years ago.
With the electronic and the tuning side, is that the biggest challenge to the aftermarket and to the potential for it and having like fun with these trucks? Because to me, like from the outside looking in, or just not being involved in really any part of that, it seems to me like the OEMs put these barriers in place to do it, and that's why it might take longer to be able to offer tuning on a brand new truck, or there's an ECM swap or something like that. Is that what slows that whole process down the most, or just barriers that are there from the manufacturer level and then time to, I don't want to say overcome it, but I guess that's probably the word to use, is to be able to overcome it and have these options?
Yeah, if there's no tuning support, there's no real reason to develop new products like turbochargers or fuel systems, whatever, for a platform that may not be supported ever. But like on the L5P, the 24 and up trucks, now that there is tuning support, we can move forward with turbo development. And for me, it's more than just taking a stock turbocharger, hogging the housings out, putting bigger parts in, putting it back together. We're actually redesigning the exhaust housing, the bearing housing, uh, the vane assembly, and design new turbines and whatnot to go along with it, so that the product is performing way better than going with that modified OEM route and be more reliable, doing it right off the bat. So
It's probably where the manufacturing and like the computer programs and modeling that you mentioned can really speed that up as well, being that it's not just a modified stock turbo. You're able to change a whole lot more and be able to offer a better product that might cover a wider range of applications because you're able to specify what you want from the get-go and not be dependent on this OEM architecture for it.
yes, absolutely.
I think that's one of the biggest changes that I've seen that's really exciting is how like technology that we see or hear about like in everyday life or in other industries, how it really benefits diesel and what it does. Like I always think about what people used to spend to make 600 horsepower, 550 horsepower, like on a 12 valve Cummins or on like an early Duramax or like a Power Stroke. And like these trucks start out not that far off of it. And then once you have this tuning available, then it's like, okay, how does it hold up to it? What are some other issues? So I think seeing what, companies like DFC Diesel Performance is able to do to offer me options, it's just so exciting, especially from an L5P perspective. And people who love GM products, love Duramax engines. And I mean, we were just talking about 800 horsepower in a stock engine. I know what people used to spend to, hold 800 horsepower on an LB7.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's what I would want to start with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 800 horsepower on an LB7 LOI. You were in the danger zone. You could bend the rods at any time, in the right circumstance. In fact, I did that last year. Well, I didn't do it. Colton did it, but yeah, we were running the truck about 860 horsepower, and just got into a situation where it lugged the engine down too much and it buckled some of the rods. So, but yeah, like with the L5P, those rods are really stout, and we've got guys that are pushing well over 1,000 horsepower on those stock rods and crank. And so yeah, it's just exciting to see where these engines and platforms have gone and whatnot. So
have you found a need at all for a different crank setup on an L5P at higher power levels, or did they solve that issue?
I mean, I've only seen a couple cranks break in the L5P. It definitely is not like the LMLs. The L5P cranks are a little bit beefier. I do know that Callie's is working on a crank for them, so that should be available here at some point in time. I don't know how close they are, but we did talk to them. I think it was at PRI last year, and they said that they were working on that. So, but yeah, I don't see too many issues with them. And the ones we have seen it on, one was a bone stock 2023. Just the guy uses it for towing trailers, and I think the other one might have been a post on Facebook somewhere where the truck was tuned, but nothing too extravagant. So I think it probably would have broken in stock form anyway.
Yeah, that's good. It's not a major sort of issue like it could be potentially on some of the older ones.
Yeah, the older trucks, especially like the LMLs, I think the best thing you can do for them is get rid of that factory vibration damper and install like a fluid damper on there. Take some of that torsional vibration out of the crank. That is probably the biggest thing to help those cranks live, as long as it's not already cracked.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is like for one of those older trucks, if that's a great place to start, is just with a different dampener that can absorb that those torsional forces to potentially avoid crank failure, which wouldn't be good and would cost a lot of money to to fix. So
you got to think like the age of those engines at this point in time, and you've got this rubber ring inside of another metal ring. That rubber deteriorates over time, and it doesn't have the ability to absorb that harmonics or vibration. And that balancer was originally designed for factory horsepower, so factory power strokes on the, how the engine's running. So when you turn the engine up, you're running different RPM. You've got more torque on each power stroke. That damper which wasn't designed for that, so it can overexert that rubber and cause issues in the crankshaft. So whereas like a fluid damper, those are self-tuning. It's a metal ring floating in a viscous fluid inside, and so no matter what horsepower you're at, it'll be able to absorb that torsional flex.
It's probably pretty rare, or maybe never happens, that a customer comes to you guys and says, "Hey, I want to change my dampener as part of my maintenance package." Like,
Yeah.
it's probably not something that comes up very often.
Yeah, no, sometimes we'll have a truck up on the lift and we'll just spot that the rubber's bulging out or something. We're like, oh, hey, we need to do something about this right now. Otherwise, you're going to have an issue down the road.
I'm thinking about the L5Ps, kind of focusing in on those. If somebody is listening and they have one of them and they're thinking, "I want this truck to last as long as possible," what are some things that you guys see in the shop that you would suggest that they maybe don't do, or that they do to maintain them? Like, is there something common that people overlook, or something that they should do kind of right off the bat to give it the best chance to live as long as it can, whether it's like fuel filtration, whether it's staying on top of oil changes, checking their air filters, changing those regularly so it's not, getting dirt and debris into the intake system. What do you guys see as issues, and what would you suggest someone do to keep that L5P as reliable as possible?
Definitely keep up on the fuel. Quality, clean fuel is definitely going to keep the injection system and the components reliable. Put a filtration system on there, like a Fass or AirDog, something that's going to filter out any contaminants or air. That would be my recommendations for the fuel system. On the oil side of things, use a good quality oil. We run Simpico in our pull trucks and our daily drivers. That's a really good oil. Just keep up on regular maintenance intervals. Air filter, brakes, things like that. Keep up on that. One area I do see guys kind of mess up on is if they want to lift their truck a little bit, they'll just crank the keys up, or they'll put leveling keys in, and that throws off the geometry for the control arms, so they can bottom out, or just overexerts a lot of the steering components, so that makes them wear out prematurely. So if you're going to lift the truck, do it right with a complete kit, not just half-assing it with keys and whatnot. When you change your engine oil, grease all the steering components, and if there's any bushings for the control arms, grease those as well. That's probably the biggest thing that's overlooked when doing an oil change, is the steering components don't get greased and they wear out because they're not being lubricated. Rotate tires every other oil change, something like that. Your transfer case, differentials, typically those can go for, 50,000 miles or whatever before you need to change those, but a good maintenance interval on those will help the bearings and the gears, last a lot longer. Transmission, whatever the maintenance interval is on that, about 50,000, 75,000 miles.
On the suspension, I want to ask you about that real quick. On the L5P trucks, do they, from the OEM standpoint, when it came from the factory, do they hold up better than the old ones did? And if there are any issues you see there with time, mileage, power, what do you guys like to use, or what do you like to go back in there with to either upgrade or get something that's stronger as it pertains to the suspension?
The L5P steering components and control arms have been pretty solid. when guys will lift them up to put bigger tires on, that's when the control arm can hit the upper limit stop and cause a rough ride, and then also cause some damage to the suspension. So typically what we'll do is install a set of Cognito upper control arms and better shocks like Bilstein shocks. If we're going to do like an actual lift kit, we've used Tough Country Systems. They're pretty good. Or Cognito.
So you guys do so much there at the shop. Like I know we talked about the performance and sled pulling and dyno numbers and the turbos and things like that, but do you guys do everything from maintenance to, we're just talking about suspension. So I think if people are local to you or want to make a drive, that's a tremendous resource to be able to take my truck to one place, and I can go from like maintenance, you guys looking over to my truck, to I say, hey Dan, I want to spend some money and do a sled pulling setup. Like, tell me what I need and when can I leave the truck with you guys to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the shop, we do a lot of performance and maintenance. During the summer months, there's a lot of work on the pull trucks, especially earlier this season. It was like every Monday morning, Donovan and Josh would come to work, and either our trucks would be already on the lifts or in front of the doors. Say, yeah, I would need to repair the rear end on Hank. It broke both axle shafts, or my truck's got a broken drive shaft or something, whatever. Or you never know. So, and Ty's got his own truck too, so sometimes his is in the shop. Garrett's, he's got his own truck, but he usually works on that at his house, but sometimes has to bring it here to work on it on the lift.
Yeah, so the summertime shop schedule kind of allocate more time to repair, the shop trucks, the pull trucks and whatnot. So take a little less work in during the summer months, but still have a few here or there. But.
Yeah, it can get kind of hectic in the summer because we'll have points pulls sometimes multiple days in a row. Like just this couple weeks ago, we pulled with one club, and we had another points hook the next day with another club. So we went to this pull, and both of our trucks broke. It was a rough track, and the sled was set kind of light, but it was mainly the track that led to some driveline failure on my truck. I got going, shelled the teeth off the ring and pinion in the rear axle, which locked that up and snapped the ears off the drive shaft. And then instead of just letting out of it, I stayed in it, and RPM sank to close to 6,000, and the turbocharger just could not handle that, and it just exploded. I have never seen a drop-in turbo fail that bad. It broke the backing plate off of the center cartridge. Turbo, the compressor wheel was everywhere, all over the engine bay, in the air filter, in the intercooler. The turbine went into the exhaust, and the cross bolts caught it, but a lot of the blades and even the shaft of the turbine ended up in the exhaust system, which later came out at the next pull. So we had to winch that truck onto the trailer. Her truck had some clutch issues. The studs for the pressure plate, it worked their way loose, and we had to replace the clutch. And so we got the trucks back that night. We put them on the lift. We did an evaluation. Then first thing Friday morning, it was all hands on deck. Donovan, he tore the trans out of Hank, swapped the clutch out. I set the finger height, and they put it back in. And Josh, Colton, and I, we were working on my truck. So did a complete turbo swap, which our turbos are remote mounted, so it's not that hard to swap the turbos out. Pulled the intercooler, cleaned that out, cleaned whatever we could out of the exhaust, rebuilt the rear end, got a spare drive shaft, put that in. So it was a lot of work, but it's great having great guys in our company that can do that. we would definitely not be able to have the success in pulling that we have without them.
Yeah, because the way they were thrashing on them, by 1:30 that Friday afternoon, they were both on the trailer ready to go to
Wow.
the next event. And if you wanted to see a video of the carnage from Dan's, I had a reel on my personal Facebook where he's just analyzing it just after he came off the track, and it's pretty comical.
I'll have to check that out. That's really cool. I think seeing you guys like at tons of events. I think you guys had an open house earlier this year, right? Like in the springtime. You had that, which was really cool to see, and I saw it on social media afterwards, and how successful it was. People love to see how involved you are with the diesel community, whether it's racing or at events. And we always kind of think of like late spring and summer as that time, but as you head into the fall and winter, are there any places that you guys plan on being where if people want to talk with you guys, meet you, ask questions, some place that they should pay attention to, or see where you guys might be?
The Hub City Dirt Drag event, the second weekend of October, is really the last big event. And then the following weekend, there's an event called the It's Not Stock Truck Fest in Belvedere, Illinois, that we would also be at. Those would be our two final big events for the season.
Cool. You guys will have do you guys set up like a booth and have people there if they have questions, or what's it like when you guys are at the track?
Yeah, so the Hub City event, we are a sponsor of the event, so we will have our vendor booth there. It's a 2-day event. They have truck pulls and dyno competitions on Friday, and then they do the dirt drags on Saturday, and some dynoing too, I think, on Saturday. So we'll have our booth there. That's in Richland Center, Wisconsin. And the It's Not Stock Fest in Belvedere is the following weekend. We are a sponsor for that club as well, so we will have our booth there.
And they do show and shine and sled pulls for that event, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. You guys are working on some really awesome stuff, and I always love chatting with you guys and hearing the racing side, because that's where even if we don't have a race truck, we get excited about it, and we like to see what's being done and get ideas for if we want to do that one day, or we have one of these trucks and think, I want to do something different with it. I want to sled pull or drag race or something like that. And seeing how you guys push the innovation and the options on these trucks is so cool. I love hearing about this L5P stuff, and like what we went through today with the CP3 swap for higher power levels, different turbochargers that are coming out. I'm sure one day we'll sit down and talk about some 10-speed developments that you guys have when those are ready and you've gone through it. So I appreciate what you guys are doing for not just the industry, but then also like these specific platforms. There's people that love them, that want to have fun with them, and you guys are offering some really quality, well thought out products, and that's something that's so cool about these conversations, is to hear what goes into them kind of behind the scenes. Like I might see it on the website, but what went into this idea, or who's helping with it, or how have you tested it? So it's always great to chat with you guys, and I love seeing what you're doing with both your trucks. Heather, I know you've been doing really well with yours, and winning and performing really well and everything. So it's cool to chat with you guys today.
Yeah, thank you.
And if you ever want to, like on my Facebook, I usually put like in-cab videos. We wear like the Meta glasses, so it's actually like point of view, like in the driver's seat, like when I'm driving the truck. So like people can watch and kind of basically ride along with and see what it's like actually driving a pull truck.
That's really cool. I've never sled pulled ever. Like I don't know what it's like. I've never done it, so I'm gonna have to check that out to see what that experience is like, to be able to do it.
Well, it's fun. You do it once, and then you're typically addicted to it. So
that's so cool. Like I said, I appreciate what you guys are doing, for these trucks, for the industry, for customers, potential customers that are out there. So thank you guys again for your time today. I'm excited about this CP3 kit. I think that's going to open up a whole bunch of doors for power level potential, and maybe people start finding another weak point on these things down the road because of the innovation and the products that you guys are allowing them to put on their truck and reach these new levels. So again, thank you guys for your time today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Don't forget, diesel fans, make sure and head on over to Kershaw.kaiusa.com. Use code TDP2520 to get 20% off your entire cart. If you're in the market for a new knife for hunting, fishing, EDC, something around the job site, around the house, they got you covered with a bunch of different choices for blade steel, blade shape, handle design, different opening mechanisms, and their whole lineup's designed to meet any budget that you might have. We really appreciate them offering that discount code just for Diesel Podcast listeners. So again, if you're in the market, head on over to Kershaw.kaiusa.com. Use code TDP2520 and get 20% off your order. Also want to give a shout out to some of our Patreon supporters, Tyler Lowen at 23 Diesel, Robert, Cutter Up Rob, all of our other Patreon supporters, all of you who subscribe on YouTube and podcast apps. Follow us on social media. We appreciate all your support here in year 9 of the Diesel Podcast and look forward to bringing you more of the content that you want to hear in 2025. Till next time, keep the shiny side up.